My name is Parker Jenkins. I am 30 years old. I worked at my previous company for about 1 year before moving to my current job. At that time, I lived in a private apartment with my wife. The incident happened one night when I returned home drunk after finishing a usual outing. I entered the apartment lobby and pressed the elevator button. At that moment, the elevator was stopped on the 3rd floor and slowly moved down to the 1st floor. Eventually, it arrived. I felt a chill the moment I stepped inside. It was almost midnight. My body was warm from the effects of alcohol, yet I was certain I felt a sudden cold. I assumed it was because the elevator was located deep underground. After a moment of thought, I pressed the button for the 16th floor where I lived. The elevator began moving, but it suddenly stopped at the 5th floor. Normally, people in my building did not use the elevator late at night, so I was standing alone inside. When the doors opened, I stepped aside, but there was no one outside. I assumed someone had impatiently pressed the button, waited too long, and decided to take the emergency stairs instead. I pressed the closed door button. The elevator stopped again on the 6th floor. Still, no one was there. When it stopped on the 7th floor, I suddenly became angry and shouted for it to stop. I leaned my head out of the elevator and yelled, but strangely, I felt no presence of anyone at all. A sudden shiver ran through me, yet I convinced myself it was just a prank. The elevator continued upward and stopped at the 8th floor. This time, a girl was standing outside. She looked about 18 or 19 years old. But do you know what was strange about her? She stood completely still and did not step inside. I asked her if she was getting in, but she did not answer right away. I felt a wave of cold air. I quickly pressed the closed door button. Just as the doors were halfway closed, the girl pressed the open button. I told her to come in, but she remained standing there without saying a word. At that moment, I thought someone was playing a prank on me. I pointed at the security camera and shouted for them to stop. Then the girl stared at me and slowly opened her mouth. She whispered that she would step in when her mother arrived. I looked around repeatedly, but I could not see anyone else. Her voice was extremely unsettling. It did not sound like a normal human voice. I pressed the closed door button as fast as I could, and fortunately, she did not press the open button again. This time, the elevator continued upward without stopping. I let out a sigh of relief. I just wanted to get out of the elevator and go home as soon as possible. When the elevator reached around the 11th floor, the light suddenly began flickering. I stared at it nervously and noticed something strange. There were yellowish stains on the light, as if someone had spilled ink on it. What shocked me was that the stains spread wider each time the light flickered. That was impossible. I told myself it was just my imagination because I had drunk too much, but the stains kept growing, as if they were mocking me. Even though my back was soaked in sweat, the elevator felt freezing cold. At that moment, I stopped looking at the light and stared straight ahead. This time, I could not doubt my eyes. I saw a human hand resting on my back, reflected clearly on the elevator door. To be clear, I was the only person inside. Once I accepted that something unknown was present, terror completely overwhelmed me. The ride up to the 16th floor felt like eternity. Unable to endure the fear any longer, I pressed the button for the 14th floor. When the doors opened and I was about to rush out, I froze. The girl I had seen on the 8th floor was standing there, as if waiting for me. My heart sank. Even more horrifying, she slowly lifted her head. She no longer looked the same. She laughed loudly, her mouth already torn open. She said that her mother was here and that she was going to step inside. Mother, what was she talking about? I was certain there was no one coming up from the basement. You could not even see a mouse down there, let alone a person. My nerves were stretched to the limit and my legs trembled. I almost shoved the girl aside and ran out of the elevator toward the emergency stairs. For some reason, I felt that if I stayed, I would never see my wife again. I ran wildly up the stairs, but the motion sensors began triggering faster than my own pace, as if someone else was running behind me. I was on the verge of losing my mind. When I finally reached the 16th floor, I burst through the emergency exit and ran toward my apartment. I saw someone standing in front of my door. It was the woman with the long hair and the girl from the elevator. They were there. How did they know where I lived? I did not know what was happening, but I knew I could not go inside. I tried to retreat back through the emergency door, but my sweaty hands slipped. The door made a clicking sound in the silent hallway. I wanted to cry. I suddenly heard the sound of women's shoes from the end of the corridor. I forced the emergency door open and ran down the stairs again. I could still hear the footsteps chasing me. I ran outside and rushed into the security room, which was lit. However, the guard was on patrol and the room was empty. My body shook uncontrollably. I looked out through the small window at the front, and my legs nearly gave out. The woman and the girl were standing there, glaring at me with murderous intent. I was about to scream when the security guard returned. He was shocked to see me trembling and asked what had happened. I tried to explain while pointing at the door, but there was no one there. Eventually, he escorted me back to my apartment. To my surprise, my wife was still awake with the lights on, waiting for me. She then told me something unexpected. She said someone had rung the doorbell. She thought it was me, but something felt wrong because whenever I came home late, I was always careful and never rang the bell. She checked the intercom screen and saw no one. When she returned to her seat, the doorbell rang again. It kept repeating. This time, she stared at the screen without looking away and saw the face of a woman move close to the camera. The face looked pale, like that of a dead person. She turned on all the lights and tried to call security, but no one answered because the guard was on patrol. When she looked at the screen again, the woman had vanished. The next morning, I went to the security office to review the elevator footage. I was speechless with fear. On the camera, I saw myself waiting for the elevator on the first floor. I entered, and nothing unusual happened at first. Then suddenly, I pressed the buttons from the 5th floor to the 8th floor as if I were possessed. There was no one on the 7th floor, yet I screamed. When the doors opened on the 8th floor, I muttered something, pressed the open button myself, looked at the camera, said something, and then closed the doors. I stared at the elevator light for a long time, then suddenly pressed the button for the 14th floor and ran out. The cameras outside also showed only me and no one else. The guard laughed at my wife and me. He said we had imagined everything, but the experience felt real. It was vivid. What happened to the woman and the girl? To this day, I still do not know.